And we're back at it again with another live one for all you Biconics YouTube fanatics out there. And welcome back to the cleanup crew review for AEW Rampage. I am your host, Mikey, and I am happy to be back reviewing Rampage. I want to start off this review really quickly, and I want to apologize for a lack of content on the Rampage front. It has been a busy couple of weeks, and with my partner in crime, Adolfo, out doing his best life performing at Ren fairs over the last 2 months or so and continuing to do so until October, I have decided I can try to do better to give you the Rampage review. And honestly, this one was a really good one to review. So, without further ado, let's just jump straight into everything. Rampage kicks off this week with our opener match. It is a 8-man tag, which features Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, The Butcher, and The Blade, taking on the team of the Hardys and the Lucha Brothers. Again, I always say this across any AEW review that we do, whether it is the weekly shows or the pay-per-views. Jeff Jarrett, in charge of the back talent, producer, whatever you want to call him for AEW. And this man also gets to wrestle and still collect a paycheck. So I'm not faulting on him for it. This match, I expected it to be what it was, which is just Butcher and Blade, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett getting the first half of the match, and then the Lucha Brothers coming in with the Hardys doing crazy stuff all over the place. Obviously, the Hardys and the Lucha Brothers pick up the victory here. But what was more interesting is after the match, the Lucha Brothers are in the ring celebrating, and they don't see that Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett and the rest of the squad take out the Hardys up at the stage. And then out comes the Righteous of Ring of Honor. I was intrigued, to say the least. It seems that the Righteous is now in AEW, which is interesting to say. And we got confirmation through the bumpers later in during Rampage that the Hardy Boys are going to be taking on the Righteous on Collision. Interesting. Honestly, this match was what it was. Again, everyone played their part. Butcher and Blade, Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett were just out there to kind of enhancedly get squashed by the Hardys and the Lucha Brothers. My biggest issue with the booking of Rampage, and again, I shouldn't complain because Rampage is its own entity within the AEW universe, but my biggest issue here is what are we doing with Phoenix and Penta? Obviously, Rey Fenix has his match against Jon Moxley for the international title next week on Dynamite at Grand Slam. But ever since the summer, the Lucha Brothers haven't really been involved in any major storylines. Yes, they had the Stadium Stampede match, but they're kind of not having any feuds currently going on that pertain to maybe getting back into the tag team scene, them going after trios championships. Like, they're just there, and it kind of makes me sad because I like Phoenix and Penta. And the Hardys are kind of just wandering in limbo too. I mean, granted, they may be entering a feud with the Righteous, but my problem is how long are these feuds going to last? AEW right now has a major problem with stopping and starting feuds that don't really last too long. It's you don't know what you got, and they have so many people on their roster. You mean to tell me we can't find something for the Lucha Brothers to do? Shit, let them have a feud just to see who was the best luchador between, I don't know, Commander and Gravity. Or, I don't know, just have them do something. But I mean, I can't really complain. Rampage is its own thing, but I can critique it if I want. So next we jump backstage to Renee, who is interviewing Britt Baker. And Britt Baker goes on in her promo in this interview that things haven't been going her way the last couple of months, but she's hoping to change that. And she announces that she will be facing the winner of the main event for the TBS Championship tonight at Collision, which she also mentions is going to be in her home state of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I believe is what she said. And it was at this moment that my heart sank just a tiny bit. Okay, so let me be completely blunt about this whole thing. I love the fact that Britt Baker and well, not Britt Baker, AEW likes to have the stars when they visit their hometowns wins. I like that because I'm trained by other companies that if a wrestler is in their hometown, they're definitely going to lose. My issue with this is I don't want Britt to win that title. And I was talking to my other co-host, Luis, today before we recorded our SmackDown review, and he said something very profound that I kind of want to echo. It seems that they're trying to make the TBS Championship more relevant again, and so putting it on Britt would get eyes on it. But my problem is that what do we do with Chris then afterwards? The Outcasts are currently involved in the main AEW women's picture, so if Chris loses this title, what do we do with her? Just let her kind of sit on the sideline? I don't want Chris to lose it, but my co-host Luis said is that Chris is not really pulling eyes to the title, and we both agree that it's not her fault. It's the way that she's been booked since winning that title off of Jade, since Double or Nothing, and I don't know. It just makes me sad. And spoiler alert, I mentioned this already, but if you haven't known by now, I spoiled the main event, which at this point everybody has heard. But I'm gonna get into that main event though, because I honestly thought it was really good. So Britt is going to face the winner of the main event for Collision for the TBS Championship. And then we get in. Oh God, I don't want to talk about this next segment, but I kind of have to. So next we get a quick QTV segment, and it's just more nonsense. Johnny TV needs to be out of there as fast as possible. I hate this faction. I hate this segment. QT Marshall is out here being AAA's Latin American champion, defending that title across indie promotions, but I freaking hate this segment. I don't like this faction, and it served no purpose, and it is what it is. Next up, we get a pretty good match between Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal taking on the Kingdom. This was a really fun tag team match. Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal are the consummate veterans, and the Kingdom is also a set of veterans. This match ruled. The Kingdom hit the Proton Pack for the win, and then they give us this weird promo at the end where they're furthering the story of Adam Cole not being a friend to Roderick Strong. And then they talk about like Broken Neck Awareness Day. And I'm just like, okay, normally I like my cheese in my wrestling, but this was weird. I felt like it went on for a little too long, but I'm happy to see the Kingdom pick up the win. I mentioned this to JVL and Jesse on our Ring of Honor review when we were talking about Ring of Honor. I want the Kingdom to get out of this storyline void that is the Brochachos, MJF and Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, so they can go back to Ring of Honor and kill it in the tag team division, because outside of MJF and Adam Cole, this thing with Roderick Strong is only really helping Adam and MJF and is not really uplifting anybody else, in my opinion. I know that's a little bit of a hot take, but I'm going to stick with it. So I'm hoping that the Kingdom gets out of the storyline as soon as it's done, and I hope they don't linger around this too long, because uh, I'm over this, and I want the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships to be on actual Ring of Honor folk and not be used as a piece to MJF and Adam Cole. Yes, I said it. Fight me in the comments. I'm disappointed because the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships, in my opinion, meant something, but now they've kind of are playing background to this whole entire arc of the Kingdom and Roderick and MJF and Adam Cole, and now you're throwing Samoa Joe into the remix. It's just like the tag team championships for Ring of Honor meant something, and now to me, they're just being used as a showpiece. And I hate that because tag team wrestling shouldn't just be that. Those tag team championships shouldn't be used just as a for show. They need to be defended and they need to be held by people, in my opinion, that are going to defend it well, not be used as a catalyst for the storylines. I hate it. It's so stupid. But then, that bitter promo and my feelings, that taste got knocked out right of my mouth quickly because we go back to Renee again, who's backstage with Prince Nana, Brian Cage, and Swerve Strickland. Listen, Prince Nana is a national treasure. I will have no arguments about it. His dancing to the ring anytime Mogul Embassy makes their entrance is one of my favorite things, and I will continue to say so, and I will never get tired of it. But the important takeaway from this, and once again, Swerve is killing it every week on the mic and in these interviews. And he basically sets up a match for Grand Slam where we're going to see the Hung Bucks, which is the Young Bucks and Hangman Page, take on Mogul Embassy in a trios match. And I am here for it. And then, of course, we got confirmation earlier in the week, last week, that it is going to be Swerve versus Hangman at Wrestle Dream in October. Listen, I am a big supporter of Swerve. I want to preface this statement by saying wrestling should be fun. I try not to make everything about race, but man, the words that he said 2 weeks ago, where if he was given the opportunities that Hangman Page was in storyline and a little bit of truth, if we're being honest here, he would be the first black AEW world champion. And I still am a firm believer that since I started watching AEW, I don't understand why we had not had a bi POC champion for the World Heavyweight Championship. It's all been white guys. I don't get it. I don't know if Tony Khan is scared to pull the trigger, if because the EVPs and the owners of this company happen to be of the Caucasian persuasion, as we call it here. But regardless, I think it's time for Swerve to be pushed into that main event scene, and I want to see Swerve with that title at some point. And they better not waste this feud, because if Swerve and Hangman's feud ends and nothing happens with Swerve, he doesn't get elevated, I'm gonna be upset. And I'm going to call Tony Khan out on his bullshit. Because as a POC person myself, I want to see my champions be diversified. It shouldn't just be generic white guys that take these AEW World Championships. And that's been my rant. I don't want to keep going on this because I can go forever, but I want to continue to review Rampage, because after this, we get a short match that has the Acclaimed and daddy ass himself, Billy Gunn, taking on the team of the Outrunners and Pretty Peter Avalon. Again, short match, the Acclaimed and daddy ass win up here. But what made it interesting is after this match is over, the Dark Order comes out and they cut this promo where they say that they're the good guys and the Acclaimed and daddy ass are the bad guys. And they want an opportunity at those trios championships, which essentially, after shenanigans and the Acclaimed and daddy ass just being like comedy people, Anthony Bowens will represent the Acclaim and says that any member of Dark Order can challenge him on Collision, which essentially makes me think that if the Dark Order wins, they will get an opportunity at the Trios Championships. I love that the Dark Order is finally getting used again. Their match against the Righteous and Stu Grayson in Ring of Honor was phenomenal. That feud, while we had our questions about it, the match itself was awesome. And I love seeing the Dark Order back on my television screen. And I am okay if we want to feud with them and the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn for as long as they decide to do so. Because other than House of Black, there are no other trios that are viable to potentially create feuds and take the titles off of the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. After this, we get another squash match. Tony Khan, we got to have a talk, man. So it's Aussie Open versus Damian Chambers and Lord Crew. Aussie Open wins in like 3 minutes, and then that's the end of that match. So, Tony Khan, come here real quick. We got to have a chat, my boy. So, Aussie Open is part of one of my favorite factions right now in New Japan, which is the United Empire, which is led by none other than Will Ospreay. But since coming and signing with AEW, Aussie Open has been treated with not the respect they deserve as a tag team. I have had conversations with individuals and they feel that Aussie Open isn't their favorite, and I can understand that. But with a tag team record and a history that both Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis had as a tag team in New Japan, you mean to tell me you can't position them to enter a feud with FTR or to give them an actual feud with an actual tag team? Like, what is happening? I don't understand why we're throwing Aussie Open into squash matches and they're not even in the title picture anymore. This, again, goes back to what I said, that I hate that the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships are on MJF and Adam Cole because they're being used as props to accentuate a larger story and not being given the respect that they deserve. I don't understand why we took them off of Aussie Open. I don't know. I'm frustrated with AEW's booking of a lot of these talent, and I don't get why we're not using Aussie Open the way they should be. But you know what? I'm not a billionaire. I don't own a wrestling company, so what do I know? I'm happy that Aussie Open got the win, but I want Tony Khan and whoever's in charge of booking to book my boys better, because eventually, and this is a reoccurring thing, you have so much talent, but a lot of them are not being booked. You're going to end up losing a lot of them and they're going to go elsewhere, Tony. You need to start booking the people you have better. You have 3 shows. Figure out how you want to divide your roster and put them on the shows. They can travel between shows, but create like A and B schedule where you have some stories every other week in the A category and then the other stories in the B category, like alternate. Again, what do I know? I'm not a wrestling booker, and apparently to some people, my opinion doesn't matter. But overall, love that Aussie Open got the win, but I want them to be booked better. Next, we get the bumpers for both Collision and Grand Slams. So, and we get a preview of some of the stuff happening at Wrestle Dream. So that happened, and we get to our main event. And before I will say this was my match of the night for Rampage. Jade Cargill as the challenger taking on Chris Statlander for the TBS Championship. My God, this match was fire. This is my match of the night. And this is Jade's best match in AEW. And what a match to have against somebody as great as Chris Statlander as well. Both women got in the stiff shots. They got in the power moves. Jade attempted to go for Jaded, but then Chris Statlander ultimately put Jade away with the Friday Night Fever. And Chris Statlander is still your TBS champion, which means that she will be facing Britt Baker for the TBS championship on Collision. And if you've been following the wrestling reports, allegedly this is Jade's last AEW match, which kind of telegraphed when she started crying and hugging Chris at the end of the match. And reportedly, she is headed over to possibly WWE. This was, honestly, I hate to see Jade go from AEW. I really enjoyed her as a person, as a wrestling character, and her matches were so much fun. But I am excited to see what the future holds for her. And you know what, Jade? what a match to go out on your back, supposedly. If she's leaving AEW, this was a fantastic showing. And Jade, if you ever watch this, which I doubt she is because she's got better things than to listen to some random wrestling nerd on the internet. But Jade, I want to let you know I'm really proud of you. This was a fantastic match, and you shouldn't be ashamed of losing in this match because this was your best match and the future is so bright for you. And I cannot wait to see what it holds for you. And I'm super excited to see where your career takes you. And I will be supporting you 100% of the way. So, Jade, thank you for all you've done for AEW. And I cannot wait to see what your future career in wrestling looks like. And Chris, if you find this too, I want you to know you're one of my favorite wrestlers right now. And I'm so happy to see you back. Both of you and Jade put on a fantastic match. And this is the power of women's wrestling. So, Tony, give us more women's wrestling like this, and you will never hear me or the rest of the Biconics guys complain about a lack of women's matches and supporting women's wrestling on your product if you give us matches and more segments. So, Tony, if you're listening, please do not just give us lipstick service. Please put these women on television and don't be afraid to try new things with them. That is going to bring me to the end of my Rampage review. I am going to be using the empanada scale thanks to our lovely co host Luis. And I am going to give this a solid 3 out of 5 empanadas. Overall, I think the matches themselves were fine. Well, no, fine. I enjoyed a lot of these matches. I thought Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels versus the Kingdom was very fun. I think the opening match was pretty good. And obviously, the main event, Jade and Chris, was my match of the night. And that was a fantastic main event. I loved it so much. Unfortunately, this episode was brought down by QTV, the lack of direction that we have for Aussie Open. And honestly, I'm worried that Chris is going to lose that championship to Britt on Collision now that we know that it's Chris versus Britt. But that is going to be it for our cleanup crew review. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like all the long form reviews we do for the weekly shows and the pay-per-views, make sure to check out all the other stuff we got here on the Biconics YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us at BC WrestlePod across the social medias on Instagram, X, Threads. We even have a Facebook page now where you can get notifications when things go live, as well as get in contact with us to have awesome conversations. And if you want to hear more of us at the Biconics be a little more unhinged than usual, make sure to check out the Biconics Wrestling Podcast, where it's like our TV reviews, but more chaotic and more unhinged and a little more violent verbally. But you can find that where all podcasts can be found: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. We're pretty much everywhere. We're pimping ourselves out here. But that is going to be it. I have been your cleanup crew host, Mikey, signing off for another Rampage review. And until next time, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and until always, keep it Biconic. See you later.